So you're working with data to not only do some analytics on it, but to drive some metrics to help your organization achieve certain goals or strategies. Now, when you look at data in its raw form, your audience, yourself maybe, might lose motivation to dig deeper into it. So we would like to maybe use a tool that helps us visualize that data, make it a little bit interactive. And there are two tools that are quite popular around the world. We're going to look at both in this class. One is called Tableau, which you will look at later. Today we're going to look at a system called Power BI, BI meaning business intelligence, and that is by Excel. So have a look at this data I have in front. It's Coca-Cola Freestyle machine, which is fine. I put a nice colorful logo. But if you look at consumption data, this could get kind of daunting or a little bit boring if you're trying to find insights into what brands were consumed within a hospital. And also, I have other consumption data, how many liters, the revenue, where it was consumed, and the different flavors. So what we would like to do instead is visualize it, right? Make it more compelling, make it more motivating. And the tool is Excel Power BI. Now the way you will access Power BI is either through My Apps on Seneca's site, or if you go to your Outlook online, click on the top left corner and you'll see Power BI here. If you don't, you can go to All Apps over here. So I opened Power BI, and mine might look slightly different than yours. Of course, I'm logged into the Seneca system, so we do have a license. You might get some recommended or sample databases here that you can look at. Please don't start with these, okay, unless you're a subject matter expert on what the story they're trying to tell is. I've got a few down here that I worked on before, but I'm going to start from scratch. So the first thing I'd like to do is click on New Report up here. And then I want to use a desktop app, so I'm going to download the desktop app. So once you download the Power BI desktop, you can just clear out some of these messages, and you can connect Power BI to a range of data sets. The one that is the most familiar to us is, of course, Excel. So even if you had data in a system like SAP or any other environment, you can always export data into Excel. Now in most more advanced applications, of course, your IT department can create connections to SQLs or any other servers, create a client-server relationship. What I'm going to do is import data from Excel, and there's my Coke data. And remember, I'm going to make sure that my data has no blank columns, no blank rows, and the headings are on row 1. Okay, so you can't have titles above it, just your headings on row 1 and then all your data. So now, if you're patient enough, you'll get all your data beautifully rendered for use within Power BI. And in my case, my Coca-Cola data had two tabs. One is hospital consumption and the other one is master consumption. So I'm going to choose just one. Now later in more advanced territory, you can look at both. For example, if you had a list of orders and then another tab had a list of your customers, you can always make a join between the two as long as there's a customer ID in both sides. So in this case, we'll just start here because we're just doing a simple introduction. So let's load the data. And again, be patient, let the system render the data. And quite often you'll get a message up here about certain queries. Just say apply changes. That's perfectly fine. And there we go. So we're ready to go. Now on the right hand side, see in Tableau it shows up on the left side, but here over on the right side you'll see your data. And when I click on that arrow, it'll show you all of the different columns, right? So we have age, we have brand category, the date. Now the dates can be split into different hierarchies, okay? So what I need to do is either check any one of these boxes and it will bring some data over here. See? So those are all my brands. And then let's say I need to know the liters consumed for each brand. And it'll tell me all of the liters over here, right? So this is pretty standard. I mean, there's nothing fancy about this. You can always filter it. You can always sort it, etc. What I'd like to do, though, is visualize it. So once you have some data here, you would choose one of these visuals up here. Now some of them are quite common, like this one here, right? It shows it to you that way. Some are stacked, some are like this, but there's some fancy ones here as well. So let's try a pie, for example, right? Or a donut. And you just want to try these different ones to see what you get, right? So this is more of a narrative. Now you can always make these visuals a little bit bigger or smaller depending on what you'd like. I'm just going to make it about that big, and let's go to, you know what, I'm going to choose a traditional one like this. I think that makes sense. Nope, let's do this one. No, that doesn't work. Okay, this one. Okay, so this one's pretty good. I'll probably make it a little bit bigger to see all of my brands. Okay, so it gives you the title, Sum of Leaders by Brand. I like that. So I want to add a second one over here, and this time I'm going to do gender. We have male, female, and I would like to know by category. Okay, so we have gender by category. Now do you see gender and category appear here? You can always flip these around, right? You can pivot them one above the other, and that just changes how you look at the data. It just gets flipped over. And there's other options if you click on this arrow here, like remove it, count it, etc. Now what do I want to know about these? I want to do leaders. So check on leaders. You've got your numbers here. And one of the things you can play around with is, you know, just go over here where it says sum of leaders, and you can always change it to an average or min and so on, and even show values as a percentage, right? So go and play around with those. I'm going to use a pie visual, and of course I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so it's easier to understand. And in this case it's giving me percentage because I was playing around with it before. So I have two pretty good visuals. Now let's try one related to a date. So we'll do date of birth, right? So it's going to give me all the dates of birth here. Now I don't want the actual quarter, see over here, or the month, or the day. So it's just going to give me the years, all the different years that people are born and what type of thing they're consuming. So let's go into category, and we'll just check that off, and it tells me in each year the different category. And I'll just move category above. That way we can zoom in on just one of these, okay? And I'd like to know maybe leaders on this one as well. Okay, so what kind of visual do I want on this one? We can try this, right? That doesn't make any sense. Nope, not that one. So just play around with these different ones. See, my dates disappeared, so let's make that a little bit bigger. And I'm just gonna maybe try one of these. Yeah, so if your dates disappear, I suppose, you can just keep undoing and then put the date back. So I'm just going to uncheck the date, put the date back, and in this case get rid of all the quarters, months, and days. So this way you got all your years at the bottom, different consumption, and then of course your category disappeared. So instead of that, what we're going to do is take out category from here, and we're going to put category in filter right there. Put it on top of that card. So what you can do now with the filter is say, okay, I only want to look at cola. And notice there's a huge gap in the 1980s, and that's okay because we didn't have any data there, or nobody was born in those years. Okay, so you've got different visuals here, and if you want I can just do maybe one more. What day of the week people are consuming. Let's find out the brand. Okay, so different brands. And let's do revenue this time. So we've got sum of revenue here, and again you can do all sorts of different things here. You can do formatting, etc. Go ahead and just have a look. Now what I'm going to do is visualize this to be something like, or actually, you know what, let's get rid of brand and let's just do days of the week, and we'll do it as one of these donuts. And it tells you on each day of the week, clearly it says the blue one, Friday, people are consuming the most, and this one would be Thursday. So Friday and Thursday people are consuming the most. So we're just getting started here, okay? We're just getting started. So later on, you're going to explore how to fix some of these data challenges and so on. So let's try this. We've got add data field here. See under details? So if I took leaders and I dragged it on top of details, let's see what happens. See? It just puts that actual detail in there. Now it's a little bit difficult to look at, I get it, so I'm just going to delete that. And unfortunately the decimal places will change. And we'll look at that in the future to see how we can change decimal places as well. There's a format feature in here somewhere. So other things you can do, of course, is click on any of these visuals, go up here, format your visual. You can change the different legends, right, where it is, the text, detail labels, outside, inside, where would you like it, the contents, maybe category, like that. See, so it's giving that to you. We can do percentage of total. What else can we do? Let's see, you just kind of have to play around with it. There's a main title up at the top, alternate text if there's images in there. So play around with that. Now, we do have some sort of visuals here, and what I'm going to do is save this file, save as, and wherever you'd like to save it, I'm just going to call it A. Okay, put it in my downloads. And when you're ready to share this with people, what you want to do is click on File and then Publish. Now when you publish it, you're going to publish it to Power BI. And we have to put an email address, continue. So your file is going to be called a.pbix, and it's just going to be saved up there to Power BI. So we can actually open apbix right there, and it will actually put it out there. This is live right now. You can share this link with anybody, and they can now interact with the data. So if I click on Fanta, for example, all this data will react to just Fanta. If you want to know what a PIB Extra is, click on PIB Extra, and you can tell with PIB Extra, consumption's only happening with people in the 1950s, so it's a really old brand, right? You can tell, go by Coke, for example. And if I put gender data here, you can also see who's drinking it, males or females, but what day of the week, etc. So it's pretty cool. And the other way you can deploy this, you can go here to File and Export. And when you export, it'll export it as a template or even as a PDF, okay? If you want to share it locally. And don't forget, if you do make any changes, click the Publish button. Now, is there a lot more to this? Of course there is. There's things up here where you can data drill. We're going to set filters, different filters. But this is just the start. And then after this, you're going to see the environment within Tableau. And you'll see that in the second half of the course. And you'll make a decision as to which one is better. So I'm more leaning towards this one right now, although Tableau is still my favorite. Okay? So play around with it, enjoy, and experiment with it. And there's lots of videos on YouTube where you can expand your knowledge.